On your block in Macomb County, where General Motors announced it will lay off 1,000 white-collar employees.
GM has just dropped a bombshell so bold it's sending shockwaves through the industry. This isn't just a minor setback. It could mark the start of a seismic shift in the car market. Think about it. Walk into a Chevy dealership and it looks like a showroom of dreams, but beneath the surface, chaos. GM's struggles are so deep they could ripple through the entire car market, impacting you in ways you haven't even considered. How is it possible that General Motors is now fighting for survival? With their vehicles dominating the roads, why are their sales plummeting? And what does this mean for you? This isn't just GM's crisis, it's a warning for the entire car industry, and it could affect you sooner than you think. The decline of a giant. It's hard to imagine GM in trouble. This is the same company that helped shape the automotive industry for over a century, but today, their reality is starkly different. Sales figures are plummeting across multiple vehicle categories, with a sharp decline in consumer demand for their high-ticket items. Unsold inventory is piling up on dealership lots, forcing dealers to reluctantly accept allocations they know they can't move. And it's not just about sales. GM's profits are feeling the squeeze too. Rising material costs, higher wages, and inflation have turned their once lucrative models into financial headaches. Vehicles that were supposed to drive profitability, like the Silverado EV, are now struggling to justify their price tags in a competitive market. Behind the scenes, GM is grappling with internal inefficiencies that are making it even harder to stay afloat. Reports suggest that their long-term strategies, like going all in on electric vehicles, may be more risky than revolutionary. As bold as their vision is, it's becoming clear that the execution is falling short. What went wrong? So what happened to GM? The answer isn't simple. It's a mix of internal missteps and external pressures. Let's start with their product lineup. GM's recent focus has been on premium, high-margin vehicles like the High Country and Suburban Tahoe, some of which carry price tags of over $90,000. These are the models GM hoped would keep their profit margins healthy, even as inflation pushed costs higher. But the reality? Consumers are balking at the prices. Even their more affordable options, like the Z71 2500 at $63,000, aren't selling like they used to. And while luxury trucks and SUVs might still have a niche market, GM is struggling to appeal to the average buyer, someone who just wants a reliable car at a reasonable price. Then there's the elephant in the room, EVs. GM's ambitious plan to dominate the EV market has hit significant roadblocks. Their goal of producing between 200,000 and 300,000 EVs by 2024 has already been scaled back from an initial target of 400,000. Why? Because producing EVs isn't just about building cars. It's about understanding what customers want and delivering it at a price they can afford. And while GM talks a big game about innovation, they've also been spending billions on stock buybacks to appease shareholders instead of funneling those funds into the research and development their EV lineup desperately needs. It's a classic case of short-term gains overshadowing long-term sustainability. How will it affect you? So why does any of this matter to you? Here's the deal. GM's struggles are a microcosm of what's happening in the automotive industry as a whole. As inflation rises and production costs soar, car prices are becoming less and less affordable for the average consumer. That means fewer options, higher monthly payments, and a tougher time finding a vehicle that fits your budget. But it doesn't stop there. GM's issues also highlight the risks of rapid transitions to EVs without a clear roadmap. If GM falters, it could signal a broader slowdown in the push for electrification, affecting everything from government policies to the development of EV infrastructure. And for those who rely on GM's vehicles, whether it's for work, family, or personal use, the stakes couldn't be higher. The EV gamble. GM's commitment to EVs is undeniable. They've pledged to phase out internal combustion engines entirely by 2035. It's an ambitious move, and on paper, it sounds like the future. But there's a catch. EVs are expensive to produce, and GM's current electric lineup isn't exactly winning over the masses. Take the Silverado EV, for instance. It's a beautiful truck with all the bells and whistles, but its price tag, north of $80,000, makes it a tough sell for even the most loyal Chevy fan. And while GM is boasting about a 40% increase in EV deliveries, let's put that into perspective. EVs still account for just 3.2% of their total sales. The problem isn't just the price, it's also about perception. Loyal GM customers, many of whom have stuck with the brand through thick and thin, are starting to feel alienated. alienated. The push for premium EVs has left them wondering if GM still understands what they want, and the slow adoption of EVs isn't helping GM's case. Even CEO Mary Barra has acknowledged that the pace of EV adoption is lagging behind expectations. Inflation and rising costs. General Motors is no stranger to the pressures of the modern economy, but inflation has proven to be a formidable adversary. With the cost of raw materials skyrocketing, the automotive industry is grappling with unprecedented challenges. Steel, aluminum, lithium for electric vehicle batteries, all of these essential materials have seen prices surge. For General Motors, this means that building their cars is now significantly more expensive than it was even a few years ago. But the impact of inflation doesn't stop at materials. Labor costs have also been on the rise. Strikes, wage negotiations, and increasing demands for benefits have all added to the financial burden. The price of every vehicle General Motors manufactures is being squeezed from both ends, materials on one side and labor on the other. Let's not forget the ripple effects of inflation. Higher production costs mean that General Motors has to charge more for their vehicles to maintain profit margins. This creates a vicious cycle. Higher prices push potential buyers away, resulting in slower sales. And slower sales, that leaves dealership lots packed with unsold inventory, compounding the company's financial woes. Take for instance the High Country, one of General Motors' flagship trucks. This premium model is marketed as the pinnacle of luxury and performance, but its $90,000 price tag has proven too steep for many buyers. Even the so-called affordable models like the Z71 2500 series truck come with a starting price of $63,000. These are not numbers that resonate with a middle-class family looking for reliable transportation. The global market shift. General Motors isn't just facing challenges at home. Its troubles span the globe. One of the largest markets for electric vehicles, China, has turned into a battleground for affordability and innovation. General Motors has reported losses exceeding $104 million in China, and much of this can be attributed to fierce competition from local players. Companies like Build Your Dreams, better known as BYD, are flooding the market with affordable electric vehicles that cater to the average consumer. This isn't just an issue in China. The competition is heating up in the United States as well. Rivals like Tesla and Build Your Dreams are setting the standard for electric vehicles, focusing on affordability and accessibility without compromising innovation. Meanwhile, General Motors has been slow to adjust its pricing strategy. The Silverado electric vehicle, for example, might have the classic Chevy appeal, but its price tag, north of $80,000, leaves even loyal customers hesitant. This competition isn't just about prices, it's also about who can innovate faster and more effectively. Electric vehicles are no longer niche products. They're becoming mainstream, and the companies that can offer the best combination of features, pricing, and availability will win the market. General Motors, unfortunately, is struggling to find its footing in this fast-paced environment. Dealer dilemmas. General Motors relies heavily on its network of dealerships to move vehicles from factory floors to driveways across America. But this relationship is becoming increasingly strained. As sales slow, dealerships are finding themselves with a growing inventory of unsold vehicles. Picture dealership lots packed to the brim with shiny, untouched cars, trucks, and electric vehicles. Vehicles that aren't going anywhere. The tension between General Motors and its dealers is palpable. Dealerships are the front line of customer interaction, and they bear the brunt of consumer frustration over high prices and limited availability of affordable options. Many dealers are beginning to refuse additional allocations, a move that sends a clear message to General Motors: we can't sell what we already have, let alone take on more. This strain doesn't just hurt the dealers, it directly impacts General Motors' bottom line. Fewer cars moving off lots means slower revenue streams. And while General Motors has tried to address this with increased advertising budgets, it's not enough. Spending $400 million on advertising might seem like a lot, but it's still less than what the company spent the previous year, and it hasn't significantly shifted consumer interest. But the issues run deeper than unsold inventory. Dealers are also pushing back against some of General Motors' broader strategies, particularly its focus on premium vehicles and electric cars. Many dealership owners worry that these high-priced options aren't what their customers want or need. And in an industry as relationship-driven as automotive sales, alienating dealers is a risk General Motors can't afford to take. Industry-wide implications. The struggles of General Motors are a reflection of broader trends within the automotive industry. Inflation, rising costs, and changing consumer preferences aren't unique to one company. They're challenges that every automaker is facing. What sets General Motors apart is how it's attempting to navigate these turbulent waters. The transition to electric vehicles is one of the most significant shifts the industry has ever seen. For General Motors, the pivot away from internal combustion engines is both a necessity and a gamble. On one hand, governments worldwide are tightening emissions regulations, pushing automakers to produce cleaner, more sustainable vehicles. On the other hand, the demand for electric vehicles is still developing, and many consumers are hesitant to make the switch, especially when electric vehicles are priced out of reach. Meanwhile, traditional gas-powered vehicles remain the bread and butter for companies like General Motors. These vehicles are still popular, particularly in the truck and SUV segments, but the winds of change are blowing. Governments are cracking down on emissions, and consumers are becoming more environmentally conscious. This creates a dilemma. How do you keep selling the vehicles that are profitable today while preparing for the demands of tomorrow? For General Motors, the stakes couldn't be higher. The decisions they make now will shape their future and the future of the automotive industry for decades to come. The dual strategy. General Motors is facing an uphill battle, but they aren't waving the white flag just yet. Instead, they've unveiled a strategy that's as ambitious as it is risky, a dual approach to balancing the old and the new. On one side, they're doubling down on their profitable gas-powered vehicles, trucks and sport utility vehicles that have been the cornerstone of their success for decades. On the other, they're aggressively investing in electric vehicles, determined to carve out a space in the market of the future. This isn't just a hedging tactic, it's a calculated move to maximize profits while minimizing risk. Gas-powered vehicles like the Chevy Silverado and Cadillac Escalade remain immensely popular, raking in hefty profit margins. By keeping these models in production for another 10 to 12 years, General Motors can generate the cash flow needed to fund their electric ambitions. At the same time, General Motors is leveraging its legacy models to maintain consumer trust. They understand that many loyal customers aren't ready to embrace electric vehicles just yet. By offering a robust lineup of traditional vehicles, they're keeping one foot firmly planted in the present while cautiously stepping into the future. The cost of transition. But transitioning to an electric future isn't as simple as flipping a switch. General Motors has already poured billions of dollars into electric vehicle development, yet the returns are slow to materialize. Electric vehicles are expensive to produce, and the company has admitted that they're not yet turning a profit on their electric offerings. In fact, the chief financial officer of General Motors recently revealed that their electric vehicle division is operating at a loss. This admission is significant. It shows that even one of the largest automakers in the world is struggling to make electric vehicles a viable business model. General Motors' goal is to reach variable profit positive status for their electric vehicles by the end of 2024. In plain English, this means they hope to make enough revenue from electric vehicle sales to cover the direct costs of production. While this is a critical milestone, it's just one step in a much longer journey toward profitability. Adding to the complexity is the investment required to scale electric vehicle production. From building new factories to securing supplies of critical materials like lithium and cobalt, the costs are staggering. General Motors has also been funneling money into charging infrastructure, partnerships with battery suppliers, and software development to enhance the electric vehicle experience. While these investments are necessary, they've stretched the company's resources thin, forcing difficult decisions about where to allocate funds. The tech takeover. One area where General Motors is hoping to gain an edge is through technology. Modern vehicles are no longer just mechanical machines. They're rolling computers packed with advanced software and connectivity features. General Motors is betting big on proprietary technology to differentiate their vehicles and create new revenue streams. Take their approach to vehicle servicing, for example. Many of General Motors' latest models are designed to be serviced exclusively at authorized dealerships. This isn't an accident. It's a deliberate strategy to control the repair ecosystem. By locking independent mechanics out of the process, General Motors ensures that every repair funnels money back into their pockets. While this might be a savvy business move, it's leaving consumers frustrated and independent repair shops struggling to stay afloat. But the reliance on proprietary software goes beyond repairs. General Motors is also exploring subscription-based services that leverage the connectivity of their vehicles. Imagine paying a monthly fee for advanced features like enhanced navigation, remote vehicle diagnostics, or even performance upgrades. These services represent a potential goldmine for automakers, turning one-time car buyers into ongoing revenue streams. However, this tech-first approach isn't without its pitfalls. Critics argue that these strategies prioritize profit profit over customer satisfaction, creating barriers for consumers who value affordability and flexibility. Moreover, the push for connected vehicles raises questions about data privacy and security, issues that General Motors will need to address if they want to maintain consumer trust. Consumer concerns. For the average car buyer, General Motors' strategies are a mixed bag. On one hand, the company's dual approach means that consumers still have access to the gas-powered vehicles they know and love. On the other hand, the increasing emphasis on proprietary technology and premium electric vehicles is making it harder for everyday buyers to find affordable options. Repair costs are a prime example. As vehicles become more complex, the cost of maintaining them is rising. For consumers, this means that owning a General Motors vehicle could come with hidden expenses, especially if they're locked into using authorized dealerships for repairs. And for those who prefer to shop around for a better deal, the lack of access to independent repair shops is a significant drawback. Then there's the issue of affordability. While General Motors is focusing on high-margin vehicles to boost profitability, this strategy leaves budget-conscious buyers in the lurch. Models like the Silverado electric vehicle and Cadillac Lyriq are impressive feats of engineering, but their price tags put them out of reach for many families. This creates a growing divide between what consumers want and what General Motors is offering. Finally, the transition to electric vehicles presents its own set of challenges. Charging infrastructure remains inconsistent, particularly in rural areas, making it difficult for some buyers to make the switch. And while electric vehicles promise lower operating costs over time, their upfront cost is still a barrier for many. General Motors will need to address these issues if they want to win over the mainstream market. Lessons from competitors. General Motors isn't the only automaker grappling with these challenges, but there are lessons to be learned from how others are navigating the transition. Take Tesla, for instance. The electric vehicle pioneer has managed to dominate the market by focusing on scalability and innovation. From streamlined manufacturing processes to a robust charging network, Tesla has built an ecosystem that makes electric vehicle ownership more accessible. Then there's Build Your Dreams, the Chinese automaker that's rapidly gaining ground in global markets. By focusing on affordability without sacrificing quality, Build Your Dreams has managed to carve out a significant share of the electric vehicle market. Their success highlights the importance of meeting consumers where they are, rather than expecting them to adjust to premium price points. General Motors has the resources and expertise to compete with these players, but they'll need to rethink their approach, balancing profitability with accessibility, innovation with affordability. These are the keys to surviving and thriving in a rapidly changing automotive landscape. What lies ahead? The road ahead for General Motors is anything but smooth, but it's also full of opportunity. The automotive industry is at a turning point, and companies that can adapt quickly will emerge stronger on the other side. For General Motors, this means embracing the challenges of electrification, investing in the technologies of the future, and finding ways to bring consumers along for the ride. But time is of the essence. The competition isn't slowing down, and the market is evolving faster than ever. General Motors must act decisively to secure its place in the next chapter of automotive history. Whether they succeed or falter will depend on their ability to balance bold ambitions with the practical realities of the market. Right to repair and consumer advocacy. One of the most pressing issues shaping the future of the automotive industry is the right to repair movement. This initiative, championed by consumer advocacy groups and independent repair shops, aims to level the playing field in vehicle maintenance and repair. For decades, car manufacturers like General Motors have used proprietary technology and software to restrict who can service their vehicles, locking out third-party mechanics and leaving consumers with fewer options. The right to repair movement argues that consumers should have the freedom to choose where and how their vehicles are repaired. Imagine being able to take your car to a trusted local mechanic instead of being forced to visit a dealership where costs are often significantly higher. This freedom not only saves money but also fosters competition, which could drive down repair costs across the board. General Motors and other automakers have been vocal in their opposition to these laws, citing concerns over safety and cybersecurity. They argue that opening up access to proprietary repair software could lead to increased risks, from malfunctioning repairs to potential hacking threats. While these concerns are valid, critics point out that the real issue is profit. By controlling repairs, automakers can ensure a steady stream of revenue from service fees and parts. If the right to repair movement gains traction, it could fundamentally change the relationship between automakers and consumers. For General Motors, this would mean adapting to a new reality where independent repair shops and consumers have more control. And for buyers, it could mean lower costs, greater convenience, and a more transparent automotive ecosystem. The data dilemma. In today's connected world, vehicles are more than just modes of transportation. They're data collecting machines. From GPS tracking to voice commands, modern cars gather an astonishing amount of information about their owners. For General Motors and other automakers, this data represents a valuable asset, but it also raises significant ethical and privacy concerns. According to recent reports, 92% of car manufacturers fail to give consumers full control over the data collected by their vehicles. This lack of transparency has sparked a wave of criticism, with privacy advocates warning about the potential risks of misuse. Imagine your car tracking everywhere you go, how fast you drive, and even what you say during phone calls, and then sharing that information with third parties. For General Motors, the challenge lies in balancing the benefits of data collection with the growing demand for privacy. On one hand, this data can be used to improve vehicle performance, enhance safety features, and offer personalized services. On the other, the lack of clear guidelines around data usage leaves consumers vulnerable to issues like identity theft, insurance discrimination, and even government surveillance. Regulatory bodies like the Federal Trade Commission are beginning to pressure automakers to be more transparent about their data practices. But for now, the onus is on companies like General Motors to prove that they can handle this responsibility ethically. As the automotive industry becomes increasingly data-driven, trust will be a critical factor in winning over consumers. Lessons from the leaders. In the race to define the future of the car market, some companies are already setting the standard. Tesla, for example, has built an ecosystem that goes beyond vehicles, integrating charging infrastructure, energy solutions, and software updates into a seamless experience. While their vehicles come with their own challenges, Tesla's ability to innovate and adapt has positioned them as a leader in the electric vehicle space. Similarly, Build Your Dreams has shown that affordability and sustainability can coexist. By focusing on cost-effective electric vehicles, the Chinese automaker has rapidly expanded its footprint in global markets. Their approach underscores the importance of meeting consumer needs without pricing them out of the market. General Motors has much to learn from these competitors. While they've made strides in electric vehicle development, their reliance on premium pricing and proprietary systems has alienated many buyers. To regain their footing, General Motors must adopt a more customer-centric approach, focusing on accessibility, affordability, and innovation. But there's another factor at play: the pace of change. Tesla and Build Your Dreams have proven that speed matters. The automotive industry is evolving faster than ever, and companies that hesitate risk being left behind. For General Motors, this means embracing bold decisions and taking calculated risks to stay competitive. The road ahead. The automotive industry is at a crossroads, and General Motors finds itself at the heart of this transformation. The shift from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles is reshaping the market, forcing automakers to rethink their strategies and priorities. But this isn't just about technology. It's about adapting to a new era where sustainability, affordability, and consumer empowerment take center stage. For General Motors, the path forward is both challenging and full of potential. They've laid out ambitious plans for an electric future, but the success of these efforts hinges on their ability to address current shortcomings. From making electric vehicles more affordable to improving transparency around data usage, there's a long road ahead. The stakes couldn't be higher. The decisions General Motors makes today will have a ripple effect on the industry as a whole. Will they emerge as a leader in the electric vehicle revolution, or will they struggle to keep up with faster, more agile competitors? Only time will tell, and one thing is certain: the future of the car market is being written right now. Whether you're a consumer, a dealer, or an industry insider, the changes unfolding at General Motors and beyond will shape how we think about cars for decades to come.